Today we're making a bed. It's a really easy project and only requires 4 basic power tools. There are 2 main parts to this project, a simple platform bed frame and a French cleat system that has a headboard and some side shelves. I'm working on importing sustainably grown teak. These boards came from trees that were grown in just 10 to 12 years, and we hope to make it available soon for about the same price as pine. Because these trees were harvested so young, there's quite a bit of variance between the boards, so I tried to mix and match the boards that look similar for the different parts of the bed frame. The bed frame consists of 4 pieces that are each made from 2 glued and screwed together teak boards that are 1 inch thick. Build plans for this project are available by clicking the link in the description. I cut the pieces to length using my circular saw and a speed square to guide the blade. The majority of my boards are 6 inches wide, so I just clamped a straight edge down to guide the rip cuts. This wood wasn't fully surfaced, so it did take a little bit of sanding, so I started with 100 grit and then worked my way up to 220. I am constructing half-lap joints by gluing and screwing 2 1-inch thick pieces together. This is the end piece that will go at the foot of the bed. After clamping the boards together, I drove in some 1.5 inch long finish screws from the bottom side. I followed the same process for the end piece at the head of the bed, but this time I used 2 full 6-inch wide boards. For the side pieces, I'm gluing and screwing them together with a 1.5 inch overlap. This will create a ledge that the slats for the mattress sit on. This overlap will also give me a thin edge profile, which I really like for a modern platform looking bed. I tried to be nice and neat and clean with the glue up so that it would minimize the amount of squeeze out and sanding that I would have to do in this inside corner. I want to be able to take this bed apart to make it easy to move, so I decided not to use glue at the corners. I just pulled the pieces together and screwed them into place, and then I'm using these heavy-duty hairpin legs that were designed for beds to reinforce these corner connections. These are not typical hairpin legs. They are way more sturdy and they have a really big anchoring plate that is designed to reinforce corners. I designed these and had them produced by Semi-Exact, and I'll put a link to them in the description box below. The steel attachment plate that's shaped like an L is 8 inches by 8 inches and is quite thick, which helps make the corners nice and sturdy. It seems a little bit crazy to use teak for the slats of a bed, but I'm using the sapwood that also came from the same farm. This is still good wood, it's just a little bit lighter in color and came from the edges of the logs. Now that the frame is fully assembled, I did a little bit more sanding and I made sure to round over the edges. You could use a round over bit on a router, but I like the more organic look that's achieved with an orbital sander. I used a microfiber rag to remove all of the wood dust, and then I applied a thick coat of Maker brand Simple Finish. This is a plant-based finish and it's really easy to apply. You just add a thick coat, wait 10 minutes, add a little bit more if you see some dry spots, wait another 10 minutes, and then rub out the excess with a clean rag. For the French Cleat Headboard, I'm going to start by setting the blade on my circular saw to 30 degrees. I clamped the straight edge down to an 8-foot long board and then ripped it in 2 with this angled cut. I now have the rail and the pieces that I'll use to hang the shelves. I sanded down the rail and then applied some Simple Finish and installed it because I wanted to see it at the height before I designed the pieces that would hang off of it. But before we get to that, let's hear from the sponsor of this video, Blinkist. This video is sponsored by Blinkist. Do you ever want to read a book but just find that you don't quite have enough time? Are you interested in being a smarter, more knowledgeable, and confident version of yourself? Well, that's where the Blinkist app comes in. Blinkist takes top nonfiction titles and puts them into 15-minute text and audio explainers called Blinks. You can use Blinks to learn about topics like philosophy, history, and science, or dive into psychology, health and nutrition, or personal growth. I like to use Blinkist in the mornings over coffee. In just 15 minutes, I can extract knowledge from a book that I haven't had time to read yet. I try to do this once or twice a week, and starting your day with 15 minutes of self-improvement always feels good, no matter what happens after that. The first two blinks that I consumed were Sapiens. Sapiens was a book I've heard about on a lot of different podcasts and from friends, but just never got around to. And then Atomic Habits, which I actually utilize on a daily basis now. But with over thousands of titles and 27 categories, I'm sure you'll find something that's great for you. I like that you have the option to read or listen to them podcast style, and you can access all titles while offline. I find that really handy for air travel. The first 100 people that click on the link in the description below will get 1 week of unlimited access. You'll also get 25% off a full membership if you choose to. The 7-day trial is completely free and you can cancel at any time. So click on that link and give it a try. All right, back to the build. I didn't put too much thought into the shelves. I just wanted some places where I could set a cup of coffee, a book, or a lamp, or even a phone charger. And I just used the scrap that I had left over from the bed frame. This is super easy mode level woodworking. It's just cutting pieces to length and screwing them together while doing your best to make sure that the screws are going in from the back side so that the heads are not visible. At first I thought a padded headboard might be nice, so I cut a piece of 3/4 inch plywood and a piece of foam that was just slightly bigger, and then wrapped the whole thing with white felt before stapling the felt to the plywood. This was really easy to do, and the whole thing took just about 20 minutes to make. I placed the bed frame under the rail, added in the teak slats, and then threw on a mattress. It was at this point that I started looking at that headboard again and wasn't entirely satisfied with the way it looked. The shelves on either side looked really good, and the middle headboard piece was just a little bit blah. So I decided to make a wood version. I drew a line at an angle and then cut a teak board into 2 triangular pieces and then trimmed the ends. I then used my jigsaw to cut an angled slot so that these pieces can hang on the French cleat rail. I sanded the pieces, added some simple finish, and now I was ready to start assembling. This is really easy. I'm just using some leftover boards with different widths and screwing them to these 2 triangular supports. I'm using multiple slats because that's what I had left over, but if you had one big wide board, that would work just as well. And I even think something with a live edge here could look really great. The angle of the headboard makes it nice for reading in bed, and I love the modularity of this headboard and side table combination. This is a great design for beginners. You could substitute the teak with another hardwood. I suggest Forest to Home. That's a great place to get domestic hardwoods shipped right to your front door. Or you could even make this whole thing out of plywood. If you did go with plywood, I would suggest going 3 layers thick. This bed is plenty rigid, but that's using a very strong wood like teak and 1-inch thick boards. The process of importing this teak from South America has been quite an interesting one, and if you want to hear us talk more about it, be sure to listen to my podcast, the Modern Maker Podcast. That's where we kind of go in depth and just kind of talk about all the things we're working on behind the scenes. I love the way this project looks, but I think the room for improvement is on the side shelves. These were great ways to use scrap, but if you want to see some more sophisticated French cleat designs, be sure to check out the project that I did using bamboo plywood. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check for all the links in the description box below. Thanks. Bye.